All right, Kirk. So what are we talking about today?
We are talking about the AI, the journey to the AI-driven enterprise, primarily starting with the Wi-Fi. And what is Bob? He's had this vision 3 or 4 years ago. What made him actually act on that vision? And then kind of the journey, the lessons learned to where we are today, and then where the whole AI-driven enterprise is going tomorrow. Obviously, there's a lot of hype around AI, and someone like Bob can actually cut through that and give some of our audience practical things, and as well as lessons learned about a journey to the AI-driven enterprise.
All right, well, let's go.
All right. So given a longer than short there, Bob, we talked about, what was that initial impetus to go and start Mist, and, and take that forward. That's an amazing story to me. And then what kind of vision does it also take to do something like that? You have to kind of do things before the mainstream, obviously, to get them to market when the market's ready for them. So I guess any perspective there would be great.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, Kirk, because when I started Mist, everyone thought I was crazy. They're like, Bob, what the heck are you doing? Why do we need another wireless company out there? There's plenty of AP companies out there. Why are you starting another wireless company? But I'd say the adventure started back in the, like I say, early 2000s when I was doing aerospace. I would say that adventure was really around, hey guys, we're going to help enterprise guys kind of manage all these access points, right? That's back in the early days of Wi-Fi when it was really a nice to have. It's actually hard to sell. People forget, back 20, 30 years ago, it was really hard to sell Wi-Fi. People were like, why do you need it? But when I got to Cisco, Wi-Fi kind of went from this nice to have to, okay, it's a must have, right? We kind of got to that point. Okay, guys, we understand why we need it. Why do I have this wireless network? I've got a perfectly good wired network. Why do I need another network? But when I was at Cisco, I started to hear customers, and this is some big retail customers, and they were starting to put robots and consumer things, consumer apps, on your phone and stuff. And they were kind of the opinion, hey, before I'm going to put my actual customer on this network, one is, they're like, Bob, you got to stop your controllers from crashing. Two, they're like, you got to be able to keep up with my digital, hey, I've got this program, right? I'm trying to build a mobile app for my customer, and they were basically developing apps every month, right? They could release code once a month, and they were moving at warp speed. And the network was still moving at kind of the, hey, we'll get a release to you every year, right? Every year, every once or twice a year, we may be able to get you a new piece of code out there. And then finally, they came back and they kind of said, we really don't care about the access point. We really care about the end-to-end user connectivity experience, right? And that was the beginnings of what I call a couple of market transitions, right? Where Wi-Fi went from a nice to have to a must have. Now we're starting to see wireless really become business critical. It was getting that next phase of, they're putting, it got to really work well now. And two, they wanted visibility. And so that was kind of the beginnings of, okay, there's need for a new cloud AI architecture. And, and back then we just got done acquiring Meraki, kind of a cloud company. But the more I looked at it, it was like, hey, if you really want to do AI, you've got to have a whole different architecture. You got to have real-time pipelines. It's not just about moving data to the cloud and doing configuration. If you want to process data in real time, that required kind of a new cloud architecture. And that's when I kind of saw the opportunities like, okay, guys, should I do this inside of a big company? And my general rule is, hey, when you see things like this happening, it's hard when you see architectural things change. It's hard for big companies to do that internally. So that's when I decided, this is kind of a startup. It's easier to go raise money, blank sheet of paper. When you see architectural changes happening, that's kind of what happened at aerospace. My general rule I will tell you is when you see big companies trying to get 3 or 4 BUs to work together, that's usually a sign that something's changing architecturally in the industry.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting point you make, because the last 4 or 5 years that we were working with wireless, it was more about controllers versus controllers. And did that maybe set the stage for the AI also by maybe making more of the centralized, these different types of configuration models or monitoring models?
Well, I mean, you look what happened, and you look at the timeline and things of what happened, right? I think it was like, when did AWS come around? It was like 2010 or something.
Ago.
We had mobile. We had the iPhone come around 2007.
Yep.
Those were kind of the technology changes. Cloud was becoming more real, in that time frame. AI was starting to become more real around 2014. So those were kind of the technology transitions that were happening. For me personally, one of the inspirations for Mist was really when I saw Watson play Jeopardy, right? I don't know if you remember that phase of it. I'm like, you guys, if they can build something that can play Jeopardy at championship level, we should be able to build something that can answer questions on par of network domain experts, right? It's like,
Right.
I just want to play one category of Jeopardy. I don't need to play the whole world. I just want to be able to be very good at networking.
Right.
So that was the beginnings of, there's something changing here, right? Cloud, AI, it's time for a new paradigm shift. And the big paradigm shift was really around, but I said back to that customer thing, right? We're not here to help people manage boxes anymore or network elements. We're really here to help them manage some sort of end-to-end user experience, right?
Right.